sorry.
It's not
Okay.
It was an interesting time in that respect. I've got a workspace here and I've got a workspace up in over the hill, which you know about, of course, which is the big space. It's for dirty work and deep work, that was all out of question for the past year. So at home it was all work that could be done in a space like this, and it was actually quite a wonderful year for drawing. Lots of good things
Hi
happened.
everyone,
So
I'm so sorry to interrupt, but we are 8 minutes about the time, so the stream will start right now, and that means you and I will be online. Yeah? Yeah. Someone has a delay here.
Okay, now a very electronic music starts in the background, I think. Yes. But Kathrin, talk so that I hear if you can still hear you.
If you guys can mute your sound device when you are not talking, that you mute.
Kathrin, you are not good.
Could you mute your video when you are not, when you are only unmute your...
When you want to say something.
yeah.
Yes, perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's all it needs.
Okay. Yeah?
Yeah, I think you can start.
Are we online? Hello? Are we online? Okay, so let's start. Good evening, everyone. I hope you all can hear me well. My name is Kathrin Wolkowicz, and I will give a short introduction who is here today at the Goethe Institute to celebrate the book launch of the publication Re-Relating in Art Practice with us. I'm very, very happy and excited to have so many participants here in the room and online on the screen. And you see here, I'll start introducing Andrea Callar. She's on the screen. Edward Clydesdale-Thompson, Haya Thurnherr, Tuan Horvath, Elias Dörig, Lynette Smith, and Markus Bergner and Miriam van Imschoot. And next to me is Dagmar Baumann and Bérénice Staiger. Bérénice will moderate the talk that we will have later. I will shortly tell you about the structure of this evening, which is this short introduction. It will be followed by a short excerpt that I will read from the book. Then we will have a little sneak preview how the image is and the text in the publication look like. And then we'll start a conversation moderated by Bérénice. Those participants on screen, you are very welcome then to join us in the conversation. Bérénice prepared some questions for you as well. But first, before I forget, I wanted to say a great thank you to everyone who supported this book coming into being via crowdfunding. A lot of generous people supported so nicely to the making of this book. I'm very, very grateful for that. Furthermore, I'd like to thank a couple of funds who also showed their trust in this project, amongst which CPK Rotterdam, Goethe Institute Rotterdam, Prins Bernhard Kulturfonds, and Gemeente Rotterdam. Yes? Okay, dear...
Well, I can't hear anything. Somebody should tell her. Excuse me.
And it's only us who hear a very strong echo, but Kathrin, you're really very much an echo.
Somebody should tell her.
Marcus and Miriam, Okay, is it better now? Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Or maybe they just can do the thumb up or...
I will look to this camera because it will be otherwise a bit confusing.
Yeah.
Okay, is it better now? Yeah, perfect. Okay. I hope I didn't forget anyone in the introduction. Thanks. So, step one of this evening, I am going to read to you from the prologue of this book, a short introduction about this book. Recently, I was asked if I ever had a solo show as an artist. At first, I was perplexed, and then it dawned on me that I had never actually thought about this desire that many artists share as a validating dream, namely to see their own work presented in a solo exhibition. I also realized that the best way for me to present my work is not so much through the means of a solo show, but rather through an exhibition in which my work is shown in connection with the works of other artists who are important to me, and in such a manner that these works contextualize each other in the best possible way, so that, as a result, an engaged discourse on these contexts can take place. This interest had already accompanied me for many years in my work as a co-editor of the Rotterdam Borgerstraat publications and in other publication initiatives. In 2019, I decided to realize my idea of a contextualizing exhibition and its subsequent discourse through the means of a publication. In addition to my own work, I chose the work of 5 artists from Rotterdam, Europe and abroad, with whom I have special connection in the biography and art practice, as well as with the authors selected by the artists themselves, all of whom participated in this publication pro bono. The process of communication, collecting, weighting, revising and deciding on image and text material took shape over the last 3 years. In parallel, so did the development of a concept for the content, as well as the graphic design and also the search for financial support to self-publish this project. In 2020, the progress that had already been made was then put to the test by corona-related obstacles, refusals from funding parties, and a lack of time. Fortunately, in 2021, it was possible to find a new momentum. Missing funds were raised, content contributions came in, and the final production phase became real. This publication is intended as a contribution to a meta-discourse that thematically and epistemologically places artworks in a broader context. A discourse of mechanisms, urgencies and values within and beyond the visual arts. As curator, I wish you a stimulating walk through the exhibition and the discourse in this book, and additionally through the audio-visual work that can be found in the online space. On the cover flap of this publication that you are now holding in your hand, you will find instructions to be able to visit and experience the time-based audio-visual works by the artists. Okay, I'm gonna bring this book a bit closer to the camera so that you can see it. Can I see myself?
No, where sind die?
There we go.
Ja, genau.
So this is the cover.
Kann ich
This is on the flap. Can you guys hear me? This text that you see here now is a meandering text that meanders in between the works, and then there's like the 6 main texts by the writers. I'm doing this now very slow, and it's accompanied by a set of pictures. Here are the captions and also some footnotes. By the way, the designer is also amongst us tonight, Elias Dörrich. He designed the book. Okay. I know this is just a glimpse of what you can see when you hold it in your hands soon. I'm gonna browse a little bit through this. Here are some more pictures. Tuan's work, we just saw Andrea's work. Miriam was the first one in the book. Now we are browsing to Haye's works. And here comes Marcus' drawings and films. And then my own work and some additional information, an epilogue that we have in the book, but also the biographies of the artists and the colophon. And then I wanted to present to you an extra feature, because Elias, the designer, is not only a graphic designer, but he also likes to program. And that means that he programmed an app for us. So whilst reading this book, you can also access the films and the audios of the images that are in the book. And for this, you just type in your device, like the smartphone or your laptop, you type in a link that is on the cover flap. Then you have this link in your browser, in your app, or laptop in front of you, and you hold your smartphone over an image. Just a moment, I'm doing this with one arm. So you hold the smartphone on top of an image. I think it's a little bit dark here. You can still see it. Oh. So sorry, I'm gonna load this page again. Give me a second. Yes, so it asks for access for the camera, and now it recognizes the picture of Andrea, and then I can play the audio that is connected to the work. I'll play it now on the smartphone. I don't know how much you can hear of it, but here's the sound of the piece, whose image you can see in the publication. I hold it to the microphone so you can have an idea
can still find
what it sounds like.
Still spend time in cars. When I was about...
And you can do this with all the images in the book that have a little bit of an icon. They are marked with icons, either like a wave or like a film strip. So those images are connected to works which you then comfortably can play on your smartphone without having to search a lot. The app recognizes the image, and then you can play the material. Oh, you're doing this for the others as well. Oh, that's very nice. Okay, I'm going to move back to my place. And let's start the conversation.
Yeah, well, thank you, Kathrin, for inviting me tonight to be part of the book presentation, the book launch. I'm very happy to be here tonight. And well, congratulations as well on the project and on the book, which is here now for us. And when I read the introduction and also the red or pink text which goes through the book. There were some words which stuck with me, and they, like to name just 3 of them, it was connection, discourse, and trust. And these words led me to to the question, or to I became very curious. What was the wish or the desire for all the participants to be part of this project, and which, if you could describe for me where you felt the connection, or what in content-wise maybe what this connection could be. And I just want to open it up to anybody. So if somebody could start by answering the question, I think you can do that by just unmuting yourself. And
I will start actually, because you mentioned connection and trust, and Marcus, who has disappeared from Brussels there, when I was writing about his work, I felt like I was actually facing a mystery rather than anything else. In some ways, what is going on with another person when they're making art, which is what I was observing. I was writing about something that I saw happening. It was an event. He was performing. So everything is apparent, but still everything is quite mysterious. And the work of the text was to try and not reveal necessarily, but to I'm not even sure maybe just make some sense of. So not reveal, trying to unravel something. So maybe that's my response to that question about connection and trust there.
yeah, thank you very much, Lynn. Who would like to go next?
Hi. Sorry, I don't know if the participants can hear echo. Well, Miriam and I can only hear echoing.
Oh,
We can't understand anything.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a shame for you.
Sorry, I don't know. I think it's only us. Miriam and I can only hear echoing.
Is it, Marcus, is it possible, because I had this once before, is it possible that you are logged in twice? Because I once had it with online meeting, and I remember this echo, and then I realized after the conversation that you are there twice. Maybe you could shut down one or shut down the whole and then log in again. I think it might be more calm, because then there's just one
signal coming.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Sorry,
That's
we've been
okay,
out of
don't
this.
worry.
So anyway, and now we can hear everything.
Yeah, and now it's much calmer also. We also heard, well, that's good. And could you hear the question or the, I asked before? No. Let me repeat it again. It's a simple question, I think, and it's, I'm very curious what the artists, but also the writers, and what for them was the point where they decided to be part of the project, to be part of the book, but also to be part in this conversation, in this project of Kathrin.
You mentioned the term of wanting to be part of a story. And I think it's always like in the artist praxis itself that you trust in your art, in your praxis. You have to trust, otherwise it does not go. Even if you have to take the risk, you go for it. And for me, it was the same with this publication. Of course, in my art praxis, like this into working group is something I liked always from time to time. Also to take the risk, this means like to, when Kathrin talked about her idea of the publication, that I said to her, okay, when you want to realize this publication, you have me within the boat, because I'm curious what at the ends come out with these guys and girls that also will be in the boat. And so, as I said, for me it's the trust in general in art production.
Yeah, thank you, Haya, for sharing this.
I could speak.
Yeah, please go ahead.
I had a kind of a long distance communication with Kathrin, and she included some of my work in a show in Switzerland. And then I was in the Netherlands, so I came, and I was in Rotterdam, so I visited Kathrin and Hoyer, and we had a very wonderful visit. It was very interesting. I loved seeing previous books that had been created, and also the studio situation, which is all about community building. So I felt even more interested in being connected, and I had a very good sense of trust, and we had a wonderful conversation. So that was, I was like very attracted to that. And then let's see, I'll show you, here's Walter and Paulina. I've known Walter since about, I guess it's about 11 years now, and I love working with him in a few different things. And since then, he and Paulina are married, and they've just recently had twin babies. So that's why he's not with us today, because he's busy. When I first met Walter, we started a very excellent conversation that is consistently compelling. So I'm grateful to share that with you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrea. I'm curious, where are you? From where are you calling in?
Well, I have lived in New York for about 40, I don't know, I can't remember, it's like 49 years or something. But I'm in the process of moving to St. Louis. And so currently I'm in St. Louis today. I'm spending about 3 out of every 7 weeks here until next September, when I'll be here more.
Okay.
So I'm in a new landscape.
Thank you. And Walter, where is he located?
Walter and Paulina have both been in Mexico City for about the last 5 or 6 years. He is a very funny and provocative filmmaker and a film preservationist, like one of the best, I'd say. And so he's creating kind of community projection events there, which are streamed live. And I just also wanted to mention, I'm pretty sure I'm speaking of like micro cinemas and community cinemas. Once someone, I've been to Spectacle Theater many times, but I saw the yodeling film there. And I felt like really lucky to get there, and then later find out, more of a connection. So
So if I understand it right, you first met his work and then you met the person. Is that right?
Well, I was speaking about Walter, and then I segued, I think, to Miriam. I met Walter when my early films were getting preserved, because he was working on the film preservation, and we just started a great conversation. So came about that way. But then I was just lucky to be in the right place at the right time to see I think it's Miriam's film, yes, the yodeling film, yes, okay, and some other work maybe by Marcus, or I'm not sure who else, because I'm a little foggy today. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was in Williamsburg, wasn't it?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Were you there?
And we did a live performance.
Yeah.
There was only 30 people, and we all went back to Bruce and Robin's place for a party afterwards.
Well, I missed the party, but I saw the rest of it, and it was really
The whole audience went, but
delightful.
yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. That was a small circuit.
Yeah.
A great coincidence.
Yes.
There is something about the artist in this book where there's serendipity and coincidence and affinity, and I mean, given the fact that the publication is called also Relating, right? Mm-hmm. And I feel that, like, on the one hand, symptomizing the underneath cross-connection that exists between us, but also might be an invitation to explore that more and further. There are indications, there are inclinations, we've brushed, we've been cross-secting, we've had more or less been collaborating with each other or presenting in the same gallery context, but I do feel that there's already quite some filigrane lines running between us. So I trust that that's also the way Kathrin works as an artist, as a bookmaker, and how we're actually part of a composition of hers. When she first asked to deliver material, I must say I had none of the expectations whatsoever. Maybe that's what Higher is saying, distrust in a process. But for me it was even less. I had no expectations. I didn't know what she was after. But along the way I felt she was composing, and that we're part of a recipe for something to come.
This is very nicely said, Miriam.
If I could just, now that we're both unmuted, I agree that it was like a leap into the unknown, but a good one. But in harmony with all these coincidences, today I read that Abby Warburg, this is German pronunciation, said that a book is a vehicle that can go in any direction, which I thought was great in relation. And I've always really liked Kathrin's bookmaking, endeavours. And just to say that these drawings that I've contributed, coincidentally, were never meant to be on a wall. So I was very happy that the book was the place. And now with this vehicle that Kathrin's we're all made, it can go in any direction.
Yeah. So
better than a show, stupid old white cube.
Yeah. So what you're saying is giving me the feeling, we all landed in this book somehow. No? So that refers to that you go on board, you don't know where you're going, and we landed somewhere, which is the book. right now, and being happy about it. So you feel happy that your drawings are in the book. I have also the feeling that I really landed somewhere where I wanted to be with, with this connection I didn't know about before. And I'm wondering, Kathrin, there's some people, I know some people, but I don't know all of you, of course. Being busy with this project, I got to know a little bit about all of your work and your positions. But in how far do you think are we actually interconnected? Some connections are there and others aren't. So in how far do the artists know each other?
I think some of you know each other. Others maybe only know one or two people or me, but I think if you could say the decisions of the people that I wanted to be part of this book were difficult ones, and I started with an immediate feeling of let's take about 4 to 6 positions and to make it not too broad, and then if we could speak about criteria, or when I was envisioning how such a book could look like and whose work I would like to see in it, I was thinking more of an exhibition. And with some of you I have shown your works, or I've seen your works in exhibitions, or I've experienced them in the making in the studio, or I've seen them in screenings. So it is a mix of, there is definitely some sort of personal approach, but also great admiration for the work and also the practice of the people that I wanted to give a space in the book, because for me the artistic practice, the making of how you tackle things, how you look at things, how you present your works, that was a big part of maybe that made the group smaller, or the group more definite, that I thought this would be a nice bunch of people. And I didn't see at first some red lines, but I was wondering if there is something essential in your practices that connects also with my practice, and how to maybe bring that forward, or give a sense to a reader that doesn't know us, and how it can how the space or the relations amongst the works that we make and the way that we work, if that could be made tangible. So the book was a bit of an experiment in this sense. It was like beginning with a new work, and I wouldn't know exactly, I knew a direction, let's say, but I wouldn't know exactly how it would look like in the end. And starting in this work with paper and text, I was also very grateful to have Elias's support for translating these ideas that I had into a visible object that also works for other people and that doesn't just exist in my imagination. Yeah, so Elias is, maybe shall I do a little recap? Elias is the designer. Dagmar wrote the umbrella text on the 6 artists' positions, and then there's 7 writers. Every one of the artists chose a writer of their choice. So we have also the writers here, and the artists are Tuan, Haya, Miriam, Andrea, Marcus, and me. And then they're paired up with Lynette. I'm messing up the follow order. So Marcus and Lynette, Miriam and Caroline. I need to look at the screen to get this right. Tuan and Edward. And then there's also a text by Marcus on Tuan, and Andrea and Walter. And Eleonore, my writer, I think she's not on the screen now. now I lost my line of thought.
I would like to say something more to these questions of connecting lines, because for me this is quite interesting. So starting with Tuan, he's a very central figure, even if he doesn't know, because in his video launch and around the performances he did here in Rotterdam, I also met Miriam and Marcus. And another place, of course, is here the Balgenstraat Studios, where I met also Dagmar and where I work with Kathrin. And then the third place was this Onarte exhibition place in Locarno, Switzerland, where I saw the work of Andrea, because Kathrin made the curator, and so I then seen the work of Andrea, and also Miriam. You also have been there in a show, né? So this means we already had some connection common in the past. Ne?
Yeah, maybe I'd like to add something about this red thread, because I was commissioned a little bit to formulate that, which was quite a job. Yeah? So just like you, or maybe like everybody, we didn't see the red thread in the beginning. So it was just to follow the lead of this, like Kathrin said, choosing something you love, and to imagine the connection, and so I really had a hard time to see the connection for a very long time. Let's say for about a year, that I was chewing on this text, and to be able to get an imagination, what is the connection? And somehow this patience or this not knowing got rewarded in a way that I was able to formulate something that I wasn't able to formulate before, and to me is rather essential for what I want to formulate. So by saying this, thank you everybody. Yeah? So because it's not only the quality of the work, but also what it enables in the prospect of reaction, because what I did is the reaction, and the reaction enabled me to say something that is maybe essential for me, but I couldn't have said it in another circumstance. So that is quite a nice experience.
Yeah, it would be lovely now if everyone had a book to read a bit of the beautiful texts that are in here. Beautiful, I think, and yeah, Edward wrote one of those, Marcus wrote one of those, Lynette, Caroline, who is not here today. Yeah, that's something for later. But I'm also very excited, as Miriam mentioned, that she feels like something is to come, some sort of conversation, or some thin red threads have shown it themselves, and maybe something else can begin right now. For my part, I also feel like we just started a conversation, and the book is maybe an object that because we can talk about it, we can enter some other fields.
Yeah, I also think this is very nice how you just touched on these connections, and just before we
Louder.
just before we started tonight, we looked with the three of us in the book, and we in the book itself there are red lines, there are there are parts which are underlined, and I think maybe it's nice, Elias, if if you don't mind to say something about the process, how it, how the cooperation was with Kathrin, or how it came up for you to make decisions on the design.
Yeah, it was a really nice project because it was a lot of a collaboration more than a client work for me as a graphic designer. So we did a lot of the design together. Me and Kathrin, we developed the concept of the book and also looked how to enhance some parts or take it, make it stand out in some cases. And these red lines are an example of that. That we wanted to guide a little bit the reader and give some attention to some parts that Kathrin took out of the texts. And I didn't know anybody of or the most artists I didn't know, so it was a nice process of learning about them with the help of Kathrin. And yeah, together we did this very nice object. And I didn't see it live yet because I'm in Switzerland, but I hope I will see it soon.
Thank you for sharing this. I'm kind of digesting also what we talked about and what we touched on, and I think also what Kathrin just said, that or what we talked about when I talked with Kathrin when we prepared for tonight. There was this I don't know if it's a wish, but she realized that now it's the time, after all the organizing and doing the actual work for this project, now there's the time to share the book and read the book and re-relate again. And also what Dagmar said with, having this time, maybe it was because of Corona as well, because we had a delay in the whole process. But I think this element of time and taking distance on your own work and on your thoughts, and then coming closer again, I think it's a very nice, or it's a necessary process in creating and in relating to the own work, I think, but also to the work of each other. In the beginning, I also picked something up when some participants were already on the screen, and I heard some words like, oh yeah, I don't remember exactly what I wrote, or I don't remember exactly what is in the book. And I think it's a nice way that it all maybe got a little bit on the background, and now when the book actually arrives at your place, it's the time to reconnect again.
For me, the aspect of time in the whole project was something very important. Also, what we see tonight is that we are not at the final goal. We celebrate tonight that the end realization of the book. But funny wise, the most of us, we have not hold it in hand. Ne? So also like this, in time and space, it needs another time, like until everybody has this in hand, and then what will happen further, like in the communication, or also maybe using it for something, it's open. And for me, this also is part of the first question, that Bérénice asked, like about trust, or for me it's also belonging to the trust is also interest, yeah, like to be interested, yeah, what happens next. We, as an example, here in Rotterdam, we have in February, if Art Rotterdam can happen, we will show the publication then here on Bacherstraat. And so there are also planned other places to show it. And of course, we are very curious if maybe also others, other contributors in this publication will initiate also something or communicate or give a response or whatever.
Yeah, maybe before, I also was just thinking to say a word on self-publishing, but I was very curious also in this line of trust or not knowing what happens when you make this project. For example, maybe a question for Tuan and Edward in terms of like re-relating, because actually Edward introduced me to Tuan, and when Tuan was looking for someone to collaborate on Suburban Video Lounge, and this is the connection that I have with Tuan and Edward amongst others. And I thought, and then Tuan invited Ed to write a text about his work and how that felt for the both of you. And hello River, who is been held by Ed.
I know you're talking about me, Kathrin, but I really don't understand what you're saying. Actually, I miss a lot of all the talking that you and Dagmar and Bérénice do because of the acoustics there. I could understand the other speakers. I could understand, but I can only say that that I only read your text that you sent in as for subsidy to apply for subsidies. So that's the only way how I know the book, and I know the text that Edwin wrote about me, which I find really fantastic. And I can only say that I'm very curious to have the book in my hand and to start reading those texts. Then maybe I could say more about things like trust, and it's all, I have no idea. And also I'm not very conscious of all talking about relations, and it all happens. I think things happen very unconscious. Yeah, so let's get the book and start reading what everybody is saying. I'm curious because it's a very nice concept, and I love the way how you, Kathrin, sort of are that sort of curated and make these connections. But it's hard to talk about it without the book. Yeah.
I mean, for me, the right. Very nice of myself. The writing about Tuan was in memory in many ways, because Tuan's work is in the moment. Well, much of it, of course, he has other drawing pieces and so forth. But many of the works are performances. So much of the process of writing this text, which I did over a kind of a long summer's journey from here to Portugal and back, was a kind of a process of transposition, in a sense, trying to imagine myself back in those performances and going over and trying to figure back the details that I remembered of them, was not so much trying to contextualize the work as such as trying to reimagine it in the mind, relive it, and through that pick up the associations, the new associations, I suppose, that the imagination or the memory of those performances evoked. And so the text really is a series of anecdotes based on memories that sort of become a kind of associations. And of course, I've known Toine and Kathrin for many years, and I have great trust in their talents and their abilities, and a great admiration for both of their work. And when someone asks you to write a text, I'm not a writer, I'm an artist, so it's, you know, you have to think twice if you want to put yourself down in writing. But in the end, I'm frankly just a big fan of Toine's work, so it would be an enjoyable experience to spend the time thinking about.
But that's what the way you wrote that text was fully your sort of connection with things that happened with you with time and your experience. And in that case, I look forward to see the book physically. Because I know the work of most artists. I know works of Lynette, I know works of Marcus and Miriam, and also know some works of Edward and of all of you. But I'm very curious on how all those, the texts written about those works, who come from, have all different areas that they explore, how they will make sort of a relation. So I think that would be really nice to see what connections there are. Yeah.
I think that's really nice, Kwan, actually, and I really enjoy this. I like this word curiosity, to be curious about what appears, because it's coming through in what everyone is saying, that there was a lot of unknown. My first words were about how it was a mystery to me what is going on with Marcus. I indicate Marcus with just the letter M, and there's a uncertainty there about what to make of the problem of making meaning. So my focus was on what does it mean to be an artist? What is the work of an artist? And I think the book is a good proof of the open-endedness and the opacity of it, but the kind of productive opacity in the acts of making, so that you really, the best stance is to be open and curious about possibilities and the form that something is going to take. And in some ways, because I did put my writing in a historical setting in a sense, the duration of the making of this book means that I felt like when I reread my text, I was looking back to another era almost. It was our summer as well. Edward mentioned his summer. It was our summer as well, and it was an awful summer in that half the country was on fire, and then we entered COVID. So the length of this project as well has meant things get put down and picked up, and they look strange when they're picked up again. Anyway, all I'm trying to get at is a sense of the openness and things becoming strange and something productive happening, and it's not clear what will happen, but I think this sense of possibility is maybe one of the important things about the work of an artist, rather than locking things down and producing something with a clear outcome. And I think there's that openness in what Kathrin has done, which is really nice.
the openness being that we were, the artists, or so-called artists, were asked to ask writers. So we curated our own, we invited the writers. That must be made clear. It wasn't Kathrin. So within that, she asked us to invite a writer to respond to our work or so forth. So there is that element of that chance. But just to say anecdotally, Tuan, what I wrote about your work, BBC Performances, was written originally to be the liner notes for a double album, a record. Oh.
When you are still muted.
Hij hoort ons niet zo goed, dus dan moet je wat harder zeggen.
Yeah. Tuan, could you repeat what you just said? Because now we can hear you again.
Nee, je moet het zelf aanzetten.
Tuan, could you put on could you unmute yourself again and say again what you reacted on what Marcus just said?
Shall I have a look?
This is so familiar.
It's very paradoxical because what I wrote about Tuan's work was him speaking directly to a performance of the BBC, like speaking without gap, without moment of, like he, now he's completely asphasia.
I'm very curious to read what you've written about his work.
Well, as I was saying, but Edward, it was really to be liner notes for an album that was going to be put in Berlin. So I thought,
what was on the album?
well, just the performance, 2 hours.
Of his.
I can't remember. It was an amazing performance. How long was that performance? Can you raise your fingers? 2 hours? 1 hour? It was long. Well, it was 1 hour. 24 hours. How long was the BBC performance? 24 hours.
But Marcus, what was he saying in this performance?
Well, he would just, on the hour, he would just repeat what the BBC newsreader said with headphones on, like he has now, but immediately speak without a moment's hesitation, just to regurgitate exactly. And also the intonation of his voice and everything was perfectly, but of course it created all this sound poetry and things like happening now. I mean, and now it's very poignant in terms of all the meteorization we've had with the plague. You know, this the BBC and Tuan was, yeah. I mean, it's a.
Did you bring the album out in the end? Is it out?
No, it didn't come out. Tuan's gone. The sound.
We can't hear. Tuan, we can't hear you. You're on mute.
Yeah, he's.
No, you would have done that, but there's something wrong with his microphone.
No,
I think he needs to press unmute.
There's a mute button, Tuan. You're still muted.
Hover down at the bottom of the screen, Tuan, and you'll get the menu.
It looks like a microphone. It's a little button.
I think that the host can also unmute.
The host could probably.
Yeah, so the host.
Yeah, we tried, but
Yeah.
So now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
You hear me now?
yes, we do.
Oh, well, okay. Yeah, the performance was over 24 hours in Berlin, but it was only 5 minutes each hour. So the real time for the news items, BBC news items. So it was over 24.
When did you do it? What year was
hour.
this?
Yeah.
What year was it and when did you do it?
Sorry?
Which year was it in? When did you do the performance?
Oh, too many years. Marcus, when was that? 5 years ago.
It was in that performance location in Rotterdam, run by your friend.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, maybe it's 2017.
Yeah.
16.
I did it on a few, and it started actually in Dordrecht, in a cellar. And it was a totally dark cellar, and I thought that I would make a connection with the world there. That's how it started. So I worked there together with Kathrin. She made this connection with the internet, and then people came in the cellar and the lights stayed off, so it was totally dark, and I was trying to talk alone with the news reporter of the BBC World Service. Yeah.
I was there in that little Berlin version, where Twan was sleeping on a mattress in between broadcasts. Broadcast and would wake up to do another 5 minutes instant remediation of the news into reporting. But maybe this all says something about what Kathrin and the people she worked with have been doing. It's a sort of practice of curating that is about remediating from place to page, from page to screen, from screen to app. This sort of putting back in circulation, displacement, extracting. And so this is a very interesting dynamic between the book as a space and then usually that sort of curating happening in the real space. And if we still think about the future, for me, as somebody who's find often a motor in performing and performance, I would find it interesting that on one of these occasions of presenting it or whatever, that we keep remediating, that from the book we might do performance or present or screen, or that it's just an instant, however great this book is, amazing, but it's an instant in this continuous possibilities of circulating, remediating, and it freezes that for a little moment. It's already like from 2 years ago that we've been thinking that, and it could go back into that dynamic. Let's add a layer, let's add performance and meeting and other, because I think what is maybe special in our work is that we don't fetishize our work.
That we don't?
Fetishize our work. There are instantiations, there are manifestations, there are moments where that manifests itself, but it's, I don't know, maybe that's my red thread.
I think we're on the same wavelength here, because I was thinking all the way along this conversation, and let's get the book and shake it. And see what
Yeah. Very great. Yeah. How can we get the book, Kathrin? How can we get the book?
I will send you the book to those of you who are not in Rotterdam, and the ones in Rotterdam I can bring it by personally, or there will be an occasion to meet up. Maybe this question also nicely links back to the idea of publishing, or like bringing things out into the world, and as Marcus said, not necessarily to the white cube, but I believe in the distribution of this book to be a distribution by the participants. I was also thinking, for whom is this book, and who do I want to read this book, or who are the people that I would like I would like to experience this book. And I thought it's nice to hand over to you, each of you, a big set of copies, so you can share it in your networks, maybe offer it to book spaces or art spaces or other spaces where you think it would find a good place or people, potential readers. So it's not a distribution and the common sense of ordering, but more about that you can find it with someone. And I'm also not sure really if I should embed a web. I don't think of a web shop right now, but maybe the moment of contact that if someone wants to buy a book, it can be purchased by any of the contributors or maybe external spaces to maybe to enlarge this idea of connection of as I found so thrilling of like getting to know Lynette and Caroline just by their writings. So this is very exciting that like to discover works that have connections with yourself, and then even to draw that line a little bit further to connections of connections. Yeah.
I already know a few people who I want to
I
give it
haven't
to.
understood. I don't understand anything of it. Of this.
Sorry to hear that, Tuan. We are really fighting
I don't
internet
understand, so
connection.
sorry.
Can you hear me now?
Kathrin will explain it when she meets you to hand you the book.
Again, sorry?
Kathrin maybe can repeat what she just said when she meets you to hand you the book soon.
Oh, okay. But I asked, how do I get the book?
She will come, I assume you're in Rotterdam, and Kathrin will come and come to you, or you meet her somewhere, and then you can exchange thoughts and the book.
Yeah, very good. Next week I will be in Rotterdam.
Perfect.
I'm looking forward, Kathrin.
Me too, Tuan.
Really.
Kathrin,
Yeah.
I couldn't understand everything you said either, sorry. But I did understand that the distribution is from word of mouth more than anything, huh? Or
Yes,
Right.
that's
Right.
that's what I would like it to be. Of course, you can promote it on your website or how you feel about this. But I thought also like it doesn't need a web shop. I think it can rather find its ways through spaces or people that we all think it should stream towards.
Did you make a price already?
Well, the
It's not
price
on.
during the crowdfunding campaign was a selling price of 35 euros and shipping costs on top of this.
So the book itself is 35 euros.
Well,
Where can it be ordered, like according to all these people who are now looking at this presentation online? Shall they?
They can contact me.
Uh-huh.
I have also an email address on my website. I'm on social media channels right now, so there's many ways to contact me, but also you can contact Lynette or Hire or Tuan.
Okay,
or
Hire
Bérénice.
is
Very
there
good.
with the drink.
Yeah,
Oh, Hire, you
Yeah,
prepared
lovely.
something. I also have actually something
toast.
prepared for you. Will you excuse me for a second? Yeah? Yeah?
Of course, I think we came to the end. Kathrin is just getting the drinks that we can toast to this event
celebration time.
to round the evening off. Well, thank you so much all for your presence and sharing your thoughts with us. And I thought it was very nice to experience between you guys the connection and the what is the word? It felt for me very familiar how you talked in the beginning, and I had the feeling that there was that you knew each other and had appreciation for each other, which I thought is very nice to observe.
Okay,
So we kind of
thanks a lot.
Thank
Great
you
to see
very
you all.
much.
To all people who are
I'm
watching
looking forward to
this.
the book.
this-
Bye bye.
Oh, okay. Bye to one. For everyone who's still here.
I'll have a toast later.
Bye bye.
Ja, ik denk ook.
Yeah, Lynn, it must be early for you, early in the morning. No?
yeah.
I mean, for you it's
Oh,
in the
Lynn, you
morning.
are muted, I think.
Oh, well, okay, that's
So cheers with a coffee. It's okay.
Willst du noch, do you want to say something, Kathrin?
Yeah, maybe I just want to say a closing word.
Yeah.
This is for the two technicians backstage. Thank you, thanks for the technical support, the content support, for watching, and of course to all the participants who, without you guys, this book wouldn't have been possible. So thanks a lot, and talk soon, and cheers to you all.
Thank you, Kathrin.
Cheers.
Without you, the
Good night.
would have
Thank
been
you.
possible
Bye bye.
at all.
Congrats.
So